I am Salunki TV, a teacher from Sri Shivaji Vidya Mandir and Junior College, Aun. I welcome all of you in this session of English language. Students, in the earlier sessions we completed two poems. The first poem is Song of the Open Road, written by Walt Whitman, and the second poem is Indian Weavers, written by Sarojini Naidu. I am sure that you must be practicing the assignments given on these two poems, Song of the Open Road and Indian Weavers. In the earlier session, we started the third poem. The title of the third poem is The Inchcape Rock, written by the British poet Robert Southey. So before we deal with the poem, The Inchcape Rock, so let us talk a little bit about the poet Robert Southey. So Robert Southey was born in Bristol, England in 1774. He was an English poet of Romantic school and also England's poet laureate for 30 years. Southey was also a letter writer, historian, essay writer, biographer. His short poems like The Scholar, The Battle of Blenheim, Bishop Hatto, The Inchcape Rock are famous among the school children. So this is what we discussed about the poet Robert Southey. So let us come to the title of the poem, The Inchcape Rock. The title, The Inchcape Rock, originates from the legendary rock which is center of all consequent events. The rock is perilous, dangerous sandstone reef about 11 miles off the east coast of Angus, Scotland. The rock is nearly a few inches above the surface of the sea in low tide, whereas completely covered in high waves. It is this rock where a benevolent man, noble man, namely Abot of Aberbrothok, put a bell as a precaution for the sailors to save themselves from this dangerous rock in the strong wind. The sea pirate, namely Sir Ralph the Rover, gets jealous at Abot's this noble work and decides to cut the bell so that he can loot, he can rob the ships in this ocean. So we have talked over the title, The Inchcape Rock. So let me tell you the theme or the gist of the poem, The Inchcape Rock. The poem is in the form of ballad. The theme of the poem is that if you do bad things for others, ultimately you will be punished. The poem reveals the fact that crime gets its own punishment sooner or later. In other words, I would like to explain, if you dig a pit for others, you will definitely fall into it. The central idea in this poem is, as you sow, so shall you reap. The nature definitely pays you for your wrong deeds. In this poem, Ralph the Rover is punished for his villainious, for his evil work of cutting the bell from the Inchcape Rock. On the contrary, Abot is always based by sailors for installation of bell as a warning to all sailors in the ocean, in the sea. So this is the short summary, or we can say gist or theme of the poem, The Inchcape Rock. So in this way, we have discussed a little bit about the poet Robert Southey, We have also talked over the title of the poem, the Inchcape Rock. We have also discussed the theme or the gist of the poem, the Inchcape Rock. So let us begin the actual poem, the Inchcape Rock. So before I start with the poem, let me tell you there are 17 stanzas in the poem. Each stanza of the poem consists of 4 lines, and we are going to discuss these 17 stanzas one after another. So I read the first stanza of the poem, the Inchcape Rock. I am sure that you must be having the textbook with you. So let us concentrate on the first stanza of the poem. I read the stanza. No stir in the air, no stir in the sea. The ship was as still as she could be. Her sails from heaven received no motion. Her keel was steady in the ocean. So, I explain the first stanza. The poet begins with the description of atmosphere of the ocean. The ocean is completely calm and quiet. The expressions like no stir tells us the ocean is completely calm and quiet due to absence of wind. Because you just concentrate on the first line, the first half part of the first line, no stir in the air, and therefore the ocean is completely calm and quiet due to absence of wind. The ship seems to be motionless as there is no movements of sea waves. The sails of ship are seen totally silent and her keel was fixed in its position. So if you look at the word steady, steady means fixed, firm. So the keel of the ship was fixed in its position. So this is what the poet describes in the first stanza of the poem. Let us come to the second stanza. I read the second stanza. Without either sign or sound of their shore, the waves flowed over the Inchcape Rock. So little they rose, so little they fell. They did not move the Inchcape Bell. So I explain the second stanza. In this stanza, the poet describes how absence of wind affects the movement of sea waves on the Inchcape Rock. If you look at the first line of the second stanza, without either sign or sound of their shore, it means the absence of wind affects the movement of sea waves on the Inchcape Rock. The waves rose and fell with little speed, and consequently no sound of waves is heard and sign of their movement is observed. Look at the third line. So little they rose, so little they fell. They did not move the Inchcape Bell. Therefore, the sea waves seem to be unable to ring the bell which is installed, which is put on the rock to alert the sailors in the ocean. Now let us come to the third stanza of the poem. I read the second stanza. You look at the third stanza. The Abot of Aberbrothok had placed that bell on the Inchcape Rock on a buoy. In the storm, it floated and swung, and over the waves its warning rung. So in this stanza, the poet speaks about the basic reason behind the installation of this bell on the Inchcape Rock. It is this stanza the poet introduces a great person, the noble person, Abot of Aberbrothok, who placed a bell on a buoy. The buoy with bell is supposed to swing as the sea waves floated over it, and thus a bell rings to warn the mariners or sailors. So in this stanza, we saw that who placed the bell on the Inchcape Rock? The noble person, Abot, installed the bell as a warning to the sailors. Now let us come to the fourth stanza. I read the fourth stanza. When the rock was heaved by the surge's swell, the mariners heard the warning bell, and then they knew the perilous rock and blessed the Abot of Aberbrothok. So in this stanza focuses on the actual use of the bell. Whenever there is a sudden rise in the level of sea water, the dangerous rock is heaved by the high rising tides. The rising and falling of these waves resulted in the ringing of bell as a warning to the mariners, sailors. So, the mariners or the sailors, being saved from this perilous rock, dangerous rock, used to bless the noble person Abot for his noble deed. So whenever the sailors used to sail in the ocean or in the sea, so these sailors used to be saved by this bell installed by Abot, and therefore they used to bless the Abot for his noble work. Now let us come to the fifth stanza. I read the stanza. The sun in heaven was shining gay. All things were joyful on that day. The seabirds screamed as they wheeled round, and there was joyance in their sound. So the fifth stanza tells us about the joyous surrounding of the ocean. There were so many seabirds, and the mood of the seabirds is described by the poet in this stanza. And therefore, the fifth stanza focuses on the joyous surrounding of the ocean. The sun in the sky was bright on that day when this incident took place. The sun was bright on that day. All the elements of nature seemed to be happy. The seabirds were seen flying and screaming in the sky. If you look at the line in the stanza, the third line, the seabirds scream as they wheeled round. And therefore, the poet tells us the seabirds were seen flying and screaming in the sky. And the sound of these birds filled the space with joy. So in this stanza, the meaning of the expression surges sorry, the meaning of the expression willed. Willed means the birds were flying over the sea, and the mood of the bird was happy. So this is what the poet tells in the 5th stanza. Now let us come to the 6th stanza. I read the 6th stanza. The buoy of the Inchcape Bell was seen, a darker speck on the ocean green. Sir Ralph the Rover walked his deck, and he fixed his eye on the darker speck. So, in this stanza, we come across the description of Inchcape Bell. The Inchcape Bell looked like a darker speck. Darker speck. Speck. The meaning of the word speck means tiny dot, small dot. Therefore, the poet says the Inchcape Bell looked like a darker speck in the green ocean. The sea pirate, Sir Ralph the Rover, turned his ship and attention towards this darker speck. And as soon as this wicked person, Sir Ralph the Rover, looked this darker speck, he fixed his eye on the bell placed on the Inchcape Rock. So, it is this stanza where the poet has introduced the wicked character, and the name of the character is the Ralph. Now let us come to the 7th stanza. I read the stanza. You concentrate on the stanza. He felt the cheering power of spring. It made him whistle. It made him sing. His heart was mirthful to excess, but the rover's mirth was wickedness. The stanza, the 7th stanza of the poem, reveals the Ralph's happy mood under the disguise of wickedness. If you look at the line, which line? He felt the cheering power of spring. The Ralph's happy mood is introduced in this stanza, in the first line of this stanza. But there was a wickedness inwardly. Though he apparently appeared to be joyous in the spring weather, his intention was not good. The moment he saw the bell in the form of that darker speck, his intention was not good. He seemed to be the happiest man in this situation. His mirth means happiness. His mirth made him singing and whistling very much. His mirth or happiness is none but only wickedness. So, this is what we have discussed in these 7 stanzas. So, I stop here. Rest of the stanzas will be discussed in the next lecture. Thank you.